Okay, welcome to the Somerset Hills School District Reorganizational Meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Welcome to the annual reorganization meeting of the Board of Education of Somerset Hills. Please be advised that this and all meetings of the board are open to the public and media, consistent with the Open Public Meeting Act, and that advance notice required therein has been provided. This is a reorganization meeting of the Board of Education of Somerset Hills at which formal action may be taken. The public will have an opportunity to be heard as shown on the agenda. Due to the public health emergency in the state of New Jersey as declared in Executive Order 103, the board will be suspending its normal meeting procedures this evening and conducting a virtual meeting. Directions for accessing the virtual meeting were posted on the district website. The first order of business is to administer the oath of office to the board members who have been re-elected, Mrs. Frenda, Mrs. Santoro, and Mrs. Tober. Please raise your right hand and read the oath for board members together, stating your name. I will start you off. I,
Samantha Frenda, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people, so help me God.
I,
Samantha Frenda, do solemnly swear or affirm that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of a Board of Education, and that I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19-4-1, nor disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in New Jersey State 18A 12-1, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
congratulations. Please sign the oath sheet and return to me after the meeting at your convenience, so I have that for our files. Now we will have roll call. Mr. Baker?
Here.
Ms. Cooper?
Here.
Mrs. Frenda?
Here.
Miss Nathans?
Here.
Mrs. Santoro?
here.
Mrs. Tober?
Here.
Miss Virtue?
Here.
Mrs. Rye?
Here.
And Mrs. Lees?
Here.
We will now move on to nominations for president. Are there any nominations for president? Mrs. Lees?
Yes. The board presidency requires time, interest, and a temperament that encourages teamwork. Because I believe she fills all of these requirements, I am nominating Heather Santoro for board president tonight.
I second, Janice.
Janice. Is there another nomination? Okay, with that, I will take roll call as a vote instead of the voice vote that you would normally do. Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda?
Yes.
Miss Nathans?
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Miss Virtue?
Yes.
Mrs. Rye?
Unreservedly, yes.
Mrs. Lees?
Yes.
Congratulations, we have a new board president, Mrs. Santoro.
Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate your confidence.
Okay, now I will turn over the meeting to Mrs. Santoro.
Okay, all right. I would like to ask for a nomination for vice president, please.
I would like to make a motion to nominate Jamie Lease, our former president of the Board of Education, who did a fantastic job. I would like to nominate Jamie Lease for vice president of the Board of Education.
And I
I'll
will
second
gladly second.
Okay. Jenny, were you able to? get a
Yep,
second?
second by
Okay.
Mrs. Tober.
Great. Any other nominations? No. Okay.
Okay, we'll take a roll call vote again. Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda,
Yes.
Ms. Nathans,
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro,
Yes.
Mrs. Tober,
Yes.
Ms. Virtue,
Yes.
Mrs. Rye,
Yes.
Mrs. Lees.
Yes,
Okay,
Yay.
congratulations.
thank you.
Congratulations to you both. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Jamie, I'm happy to know that I don't have to live completely without you, since I feel like we've been side by side since I
know.
started this.
I'm still here.
Yes, I am too. And Jenny, can I make a comment regarding the presidency, or shall we wait for later?
You can do that now if you
I
want.
can do that now. Okay, I just wanted to, certainly take a moment and extend my sincere thanks to Jamie for her service as the board president for the last 3 years. Jamie became board president the night I was first sworn in 3 years ago. And from that first moment, she was reassuring, welcoming, and really took the opportunity to take me as a new board member under her wings. Let me ask, I don't know, probably 1,000,002 questions, maybe in the first month, but I'd like to think at least over the first year. As we all know, as a board, Jamie has provided us with focused, goal-oriented leadership, and she has moved the board forward to accomplish many critical district items, starting with hiring our superintendent, which, we all know was a huge accomplishment for us. And it's one of the things that we all take a lot of pride in. Settling the Bedminster contract, negotiating both Shea and Shaw contracts, and of course, navigating this pandemic, which hopefully we won't have to have many more board presidents go through. You have been a committed, determined leader that has always kept the goal of doing what is best for students at the forefront of every decision we make. And I hope to carry on many of the qualities that you have demonstrated as a leader, Jamie. And I certainly appreciate your vote of confidence. And I know I have big shoes to fill, but I will work hard to do that. And I am very glad to have you by my side as the vice president as I embark on learning the intricacies of all this role. And I certainly want to thank all of my fellow board members for embracing this change and, being willing to work with me through this process. So thank you very much, Jamie. You have been a wonderful leader, and I know from the bottom of my heart, I certainly appreciate all the time and effort you have put into this.
Thanks so much, Heather. That was very sweet. And I will do everything I can to help you and anyone else here and our administrators, continue to move forward. You're going to be great.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so now we are going to move on, but before we move items 1 through 6 on the agenda, this is where we will go ahead and read our code of ethics, and we normally just go around the table. Since we can't do that this evening, I will start out with the first one and then just ask each board member to read one as we go, okay? So I will go ahead and start. I will uphold and enforce all laws, rules, and regulations of the State Board of Education and court orders pertaining to schools. Desired changes shall be brought about only through legal and ethical procedures. Bob, can you take number 2, please?
Sure. I will make decisions in terms of the educational welfare of children and will seek to develop and maintain public schools that meet the individual needs of all children, regardless of their ability, race, creed, sex, or social standing.
Nicole, could you take number 3?
Sure. I will confine my board action to policy making, planning, and appraisal, and I will help to frame policies and plans only after the board has consulted those who will be affected by them.
Sam, number 4, please.
Sure. I will carry out my responsibility not to administer the schools, but together with my fellow board members to see that they are well run.
Jamie, number 5.
I will recognize that authority rests with the Board of Education and will make no personal promises nor take any private action that may compromise the board.
Kathy, number 6, please.
You're muted.
Kathy, you're muted.
Sorry. I will refuse to surrender my independent judgment to special interest or partisan political groups, or to use the schools for personal gain or for the gain of friends.
Janice, number 7, please.
Yes, I will hold confidential all matters pertaining to the schools which, if disclosed, would needlessly injure individuals or the schools. In all other matters, I will provide accurate information and, in concert with my fellow board members, interpret to the staff the aspirations of the community for its schools.
Sarah, can you do number 8, please?
I will vote to appoint the best qualified personnel available after consideration of the recommendation of the Chief Administrative Officer.
Pat, number 9, please.
I will support and protect school personnel in the proper performance of their duties.
And Bob, will you do number 10?
Sure. No, I will refer all complaints to the Chief Administrative Officer and will act upon the complaints as at public meetings only after the failure of an administrative solution.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Now I'd like to make a motion to move items 1 through 6 on the agenda.
A second, Janice.
Thank you. Any discussions?
Okay, I'll take roll call. Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda,
Yes.
Mrs. Lees. I rearranged the order, sorry. With the new president. I should announce that. I apologize.
Okay.
Mrs. Lees, Ms. Nathans,
Yes.
Mrs. Tober,
Yes.
Ms. Virtue,
Yes.
Mrs. Rye,
Yes.
and Mrs. Santoro.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you, Jenny. So as you know, we just approved our committees, and if you guys would please send me the committees that you would like to be on. If you would send me your top 2 committees by Monday, if that's reasonable for everyone, and sooner if possible, then we can go ahead and I'll work on the committees and get them back out to you as quickly as possible, so we're ready to go for the following week.
Okay.
Okay with everyone?
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Oh, and can I get a motion to move the items on the addendum, please?
I make a motion.
A second.
Jamie, second. Okay.
Nicole, are you okay? Do you have what you need for the addendum? Okay.
It was on the other part of my desk.
Is there any discussion on the addendum items?
I just had a few questions regarding the approval for the sports. Assuming, obviously, we're starting virtually. I'm assuming that they're going to start immediately.
The time frame that Mr. Hoppy had them starting was next Monday. on
Okay.
his proposal.
Okay.
So in a perfect world, we would be back and they would be able to start face to face. We
Okay.
we'll cross our fingers and cross that bridge, right?
Well, that's my next question. In an imperfect world, which is very much a possibility, depending on where our numbers are and the Board of Health and then data, takes us. If we do end up starting virtually, have we landed on any type of kind of outline for what? I know right now it's only a few sports, but as time progresses, I'm assuming we're going to come in and out of a virtual world as far as this is concerned, unless things
Right.
get better.
We have not ironed that out to the extent, perhaps, Sam, that we might, because first of all, the notion of the approval schedule, and I know we've talked about, we kind of came to some consensus around that. So as early as this morning, there was still some debate as to, did it make sense to continue to have these positions approved tonight? Which obviously we could have called a special meeting later in the month, but we're trying to get these things started and also to be somewhat optimistic. If they are to start and not be able to be face to face, I have not spoken to Mike about the definitive nature of what that would look like. I think my overarching concern would be some consistency across sports, so that there's not a sense that something's happening in one arena that is not in another.
Yeah, that's what obviously each sport is going to have its own set of things they need to accomplish, but just what the expectations are on a daily basis in a virtual world. So
Right.
The kids know what to expect and the coaches know what is required of them. And
by the time our committees meet, not next week, but I think it's the following week that we meet, we should have some information to share at that point with the curriculum committee and F&O about where we stand and what we're looking at.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything else they want to add before I have one more that I just want to tack on?
Well, the only question, the only sport I see missing would be track, indoor track, and I'm assuming that's because
it got pushed.
It got pushed, yeah, because I know wrestling is pushed.
Yes, and
and
swimming is pushed too, Bob.
And
cheerleading was still somewhat up in the air.
Okay.
I went over this list again with Mike today, just to be sure before we published it, that it was what, was in his head and what he wanted and what we had originally discussed, which he concurred.
Perfect.
So I think we're good there.
Thank you. Good.
Sure.
Okay, so I have one more. And I'm sorry for being a pain,
No.
but going forward, so like tagging on to my last question is obviously the governor and NJSIA have set their everything and, we're going according to that. As we're virtual now, I assume if we have to go virtual again, that our sports would then go virtual again? Would sports stay in person?
We had some conversations internally today about when we are remote, whether there was an opportunity for sports to ever be face-to-face. And certainly, Colleen, if I leave anything out or you want to clarify, feel free to jump in. Colleen has been talking to Dr. Agathis directly and then reporting back to me. But my understanding is that her advice is if you are not if you have no in-person instruction happening, you should have no face-to-face sports happening either. The goal of limiting those sort of physical face-to-face interactions would be compromised if we were to continue with face-to-face sports. So I think in that sense, my understanding is that they would kind of go hand in hand, which I think is it makes it somewhat simpler in the sense that sports, we wouldn't want to compare and feel as though we were playing favorites, if you will. I understand that different sports run differently and there's indoors and outdoor and level of physical contact and ball handling, and are things happening on our in our facilities? Or are they happening elsewhere? But for the time being, that is the guidance that we're kind of operating under. I think we had a little bit of miscommunication on that historically, and we've rectified that.
Okay. Because it's also something that I'm thinking about going forward in terms of we're going to have more sports obviously come up for approval, and I'm praying that this dies down and that by March or even late February, we're not dealing with this anymore in the capacity that we are now. But reality is reality. And I just want to kind of put it out there. In no way will this affect the way that I vote tonight. And it's not, that, with Shay leadership and, as a whole, that we kind of are in agreement or try to continue the conversation that if we are going to if the union is going to support and back their coaches that they cover to do in-person indoor sports without masks in gymnasiums, that if those things are going on, that it's understood that with the safety guidelines we have and the data we're using and the advice of the Board of Health and the reports of the students in our district, that it would then also be safe to be in person in the classroom so that we don't continue to have these conflicting conversations going on. And that's just something, as we continue to approve more indoor sports, I think it's a different conversation with outdoor.
Right, I do too. And I think it can easily just create confusion in the eyes of anybody, and board members, the public, even administrators. It becomes hard to navigate. I think we always try to get back to what is our intent when we make these hard decisions to say we're not here for in-person instruction. We would all much prefer that. And we go back to the medical guidance we have. We feel very fortunate that Dr. Agathis is so available to us and quite frankly is so on top of not only the coronavirus itself, but the trends in the community. And I personally think that I wouldn't be doing my job if I discounted her medical advice. So I know I've had people say to me, well, is she the one who's making the decision? No, I make the decision. But given that we are in a pandemic, I am not going to take somebody who is a medical expert who is weighing in and we are paying and say, oh, I know more than that, or I'm going to discount your input.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so we'll take roll call.
No.
Okay, we'll take roll call then. Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda,
Yes.
Mrs. Lees,
Yes.
Ms. Nathans,
Yes.
Mrs. Tober,
Yes.
Ms. Virtue,
Yes.
Mrs. Rye,
Yes.
and Mrs. Santoro.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. So public comment section. Public comments are welcome at this time. If you would like to speak, please type your name in the chat and I will call on you. Thank you for your input. Okay. All right. I don't see any public comment at the time, so we can move forward. We don't have supplementary matters this evening, but I did just want to say we are obviously looking to replace our Bernardsville representative, and there was an announcement in the Bernardsville News as well as on our website. So anybody interested should submit their letter of intent to Ginny DeMarco. And Ginny, correct me if I'm wrong, but that will go through January 22nd. We will be accepting
Yes.
letters of intent. Okay. So hopefully we will start having those come in through the doors. And does anybody have any comments this evening?
Well, I'm just wondering, when do you think it would be feasible to have the interviews? Do you think it could possibly be the week of the 25th, or would that be too soon? And if we did do it the week of the 25th, then we could put the person on the agenda in February, correct? And then, no, yes?
It depends on how many applicants we get. So if on the 22nd, if we have a handful, we might have enough time to, or you might have enough time to interview the candidates at the board meeting executive session. And then you can take the vote right then and there in the public section of the meeting. If you have a lot of candidates, then it might be more feasible to have a separate meeting because it will take too long. So I think it all depend on the amount of candidates we receive. And so at the earliest, we could, the board could approve the candidate in the January meeting, and at the latest, the February meeting, or a special meeting in between.
It also depends on their availability for being interviewed, right?
Yes.
I don't get the Bernardsville news at the moment. And I don't really recall what the procedure was from when I did it. Is it only a letter of intent, or are we looking for a CV or a resume or something as well? And forgive me because.
Oh, no, it's a letter of intent and resume is what we asked for.
Thank you.
And then, Ginny, correct me if I'm wrong, but if, as I recall from the last time we did this, gosh, about a year ago, right? We will all review the resumes. We will interview all candidates and then, you know, make a decision based on the resumes and interview.
Right. So the interviews will happen most likely at the same time. We have questions for the board to use. They should be asked the same questions. And then you may have a discussion in exec, but the vote has to happen in public.
Do we get the resumes to see the resumes ahead of time, or is it all at the?
Have you received any applications or any yet, Ginny? You don't have to say names, but.
Yep, I received one. So my plan was after the deadline to send the board all the resumes so that you can, you know, review them before the board meeting or for that weekend.
Okay, so we'll know a better schedule as we'll tighten it up as we get closer to January 22nd and see how many interviews we have. So stay tuned and we'll make sure we get it all sorted out. Okay, does anyone else have any comments?
I just wanted to thank Jamie for her 3 years of service as well. We'll miss. I'm so glad you'll be vice president, and we'll looking forward to that, your tenure in that regard.
If I could chime in too, Jamie has made my first year on the board a very welcome one, and she's talked me through a lot of things. So Heather, put my number in speed dial and feel free to call me. I go to bed at 9, but I'm up at 5. So
Oh, I'm an early riser too, Pat. So
Oh, we lost Jamie.
Lost Jamie.
No, come back, Jamie.
I don't think it's anything we said. Heather, I'm looking forward to working with you in a new capacity. Certainly, I think it's an exciting time, and I do appreciate all Jamie has done to sort of help us all create a cohesion that I think is so important to our work. And I think you're very well suited to continuing that. So
thank you. Thank you.
And
She
you know,
got knocked out, she said.
I do want to also comment, Jamie, you know, I think you have a lot of strong points. And I will say one of the biggest strong points is really working with people and helping them and to try to do their best, but really reaching out and just helping everybody. It was just, it's a great quality to have, and you have that quality.
Agreed. Very much so.
All right, I like, before I make my usual motion to adjourn,
The
I'm gonna
Bob
make it.
motion.
I'm gonna make it. I want to thank Jamie. It's been a wonderful year. Of all my years on the board, I think this was the most collegial that we've ever had. And I don't say, I say that with, we can have difference of opinions, but I think we all treated everybody with respect. And I really appreciate that. And it's going to be difficult we're going to have problems these next few months, but if we're collegial and respect everybody, and I think she's helped us get that mold in there, and I really appreciate that. So I will make my motion to adjourn.
Wait, before somebody seconds it, I do also want to welcome Heather as our new board president, and I think she's going to do a fabulous job. And I welcomed as our board president.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you.
Okay, Bob, now you can go.
We'll make a motion to adjourn, and we'll see everybody at the committee meetings whenever they.
I just need
whenever
a
they-
second. Thank you,
I'll
Sam.
second.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody. Have a
Bye.
good evening.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Good night.
Right.